Lonely young woman buys wooden house for $25 and finds two hidden orphans. Melissa Johnson never imagined her life would turn upside down in a single day. At 32, she had just received the news that would change everything. She could never get pregnant. The doctors were clear, definitive. She left the office with shaky legs and her heart shattered into 1,000 pieces. 2 weeks later, she was there, standing in front of an old wooden cabin she had bought for just $25 at an auction of abandoned properties. The building was on the outskirts of Aspen, in rural Colorado, far from everything and everyone. It was exactly what she needed, a place to hide from the pain, from people's pitying looks, from the uncomfortable questions about children who would never come. She pushed the creaky door with a trembling hand. The smell of mold invaded her nostrils. But it wasn't the smell that made her stop halfway. It was the eyes. 2 pairs of wide eyes staring at her from the darkest corner of the cabin. Melissa took a step back, her heart racing. In the corner, huddled among old boxes and dirty blankets, were 2 girls. The older one, who looked about 11, held the younger one against her chest, protecting her like a shield. Both wore simple beige, worn-out dresses full of stains and tears. Their feet were bare and dirty with soil. Their tangled hair fell over their thin shoulders. The older one raised a hand, making an almost imperceptible gesture for them to stay quiet. Her brown eyes were full of fear, but also determination. The little one trembled, clinging to her sister, as if she were the last thing in the world that still belonged to her. "Please," whispered the older girl, her voice faltering. "Please don't call anyone. We'll leave. We'll go right now. Just don't report us." Melissa couldn't move. Her mind tried to process what was happening. 2 children, alone, hiding in an abandoned cabin. How? Why? Who are you?" she managed to ask, her voice hoarse. "We didn't do anything wrong," the girl continued, still holding her sister. "We just needed a place. You just bought it, right? We didn't know someone would buy it so fast. We'll leave, I promise." The younger girl began to cry softly, her face buried in her sister's shoulder. Melissa felt something tighten in her chest. She took another step into the cabin, closing the door behind her. The girl shrank back even more. Wait," said Melissa, raising her hands in a peaceful gesture. "I'm not going to call anyone. Just tell me what's going on. Are you alone here?" "How long?" The older girl hesitated. She looked at her sister, then back at Melissa. There was something in that child's eyes that touched Melissa's soul deeply. It was the look of someone who had already seen too much, suffered too much for someone so young. 3 days, she finally answered. "We've been here for 3 days. 3 days?" Melissa felt her stomach churn. "But have you eaten anything? Do you have water?" Before the girl could answer, the younger one let out a low moan, and her body went limp in her sister's arms. "Lily!" the older one shouted, trying to hold her fainting sister. "Lily, wake up!" Melissa ran to them, kneeling on the wooden floor. She touched the younger girl's face. It was too hot, sweaty, but at the same time cold. The child had fainted. "When was the last time she ate?" asked Melissa, already taking off her coat and placing it under the girl's head. "Yesterday morning," replied the older one, tears streaming down her face. "We had a loaf of bread we brought, but it ran out. I gave her the last half." "And you?" "I'm okay. I can handle it." Melissa looked at that 11-year-old girl, trying to be strong, trying to take care of her sister even when she herself was starving. Something inside Melissa broke. Melissa. Or maybe something got fixed. She wasn't sure. "What's your name?" she asked, carefully picking Lily up in her arms. "Emma," the girl replied. "And she's my sister, Lily. Please, you won't take us back, will you?" "Back where?" Emma lowered her eyes, biting her lower lip. "To the shelter. We ran away, but we had to. You don't understand. They were going to separate us again. They've done it twice already. I can't let that happen. I promised my dad I'd take care of Lily, that we'd always stay together." The words tumbled out desperate. Melissa felt her chest tighten even more. She looked at Lily in her arms, so small, so fragile. Then she looked at Emma, trying to be brave when she should be playing, being a child. Let's get out of here, Melissa said, standing up with Lily in her arms. First, we'll take care of your sister. Then, you'll tell me everything. Are you going to report us? Emma asked, her voice trembling. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, Melissa replied, being honest. But right now the only thing that matters is that your sister needs to eat and rest properly. You too. We're going to my house. Emma hesitated for a long moment. Melissa could see the conflict in the girl's eyes. To trust or not to trust, accept help or keep running. Finally, Emma nodded and stood up, grabbing an old backpack that was lying in the corner. I'll go with you, but if you try to separate us, I'll run away again. I always find a way. Understood, said Melissa, and for the first time in weeks, she felt she had a purpose. She didn't know what she was doing, didn't know if it was right or wrong, but she knew she couldn't just leave those girls behind. The drive to her house in the city took 40 minutes. Melissa drove in silence, checking the rearview mirror from time to time to see Emma in the back seat, holding her unconscious sister's hand. The girl never took her eyes off Lily, as if afraid she would disappear if she blinked. When they arrived, Melissa took Lily straight to the guest room and laid her on the bed. Emma stayed by her side, refusing to leave. I need to get a few things, Melissa said. Water, light food, medicine to bring down the fever. You stay here with her, okay? Emma just nodded, but Melissa noticed how the girl's hands trembled as she held her sister's. In the kitchen, Melissa prepared a light broth and got some saltine crackers. She returned to the room with a tray. Lily was still unconscious, but her breathing seemed more regular. Emma, she called softly, you need to eat too. Only after Lily wakes up. If you faint from hunger, who will take care of her? That made Emma hesitate. Finally, she took a cracker and ate it slowly, as if every bite were precious. It took another hour for Lily to wake up. When she opened her eyes, she immediately started crying, calling for Emma. I'm here. Emma held her sister's hand. You're okay, we're okay. Where are we? Lily looked around, frightened, until her eyes landed on Melissa. Who is she? It's Melissa. She's helping us. Lily looked at Melissa with suspicion, but she was too weak to protest when Melissa approached with the broth. You need to eat slowly, okay? Melissa said, holding the bowl. Your stomach isn't used to it. If you eat too fast, you'll get sick. Lily ate the broth little by little, with Emma by her side the whole time. Afterward, Melissa took them to the bathroom, prepared a warm bath, and gave them clean clothes. They were her own clothes from when she was a teenager, stored in boxes. They were too big for the girls, but better than the dirty dresses they were wearing. When they finally returned to the living room, clean and in dry clothes, Melissa made hot chocolate and sat on the couch. Now, she said, trying to keep her voice calm. Tell me what happened. From the beginning. Emma and Lily exchanged glances. Finally, Emma began to speak. Our dad and our mums, they passed away 6 months ago. In a car accident. We went to live with our aunt, our mum's sister. But she didn't want us there. Said she couldn't afford to take care of 2 children. So she put us in the municipal shelter. Which shelter? St. Francis Home, right here in Aspen. Melissa knew the place. It was an old shelter, known for always being overcrowded. And why did you run away? Because they separated us. Emma's voice grew firmer, more determined. Right when we arrived, they put Lily in one wing and me in another. They said it was because of our age. I went 2 weeks without seeing my sister. 2 weeks. She cried every night. I could hear her even from far away. I begged and begged for them to put us together, but no one listened. Lily curled up on the couch, hugging her legs. So, after a lot of arguing, did they manage to put you back together? Asked Melissa. Yes. But then 3 months later they said Lily was going to be transferred to another shelter in another city. They said they had more openings there, that it would be better for her. But it would separate us again. I can't let that happen. I promised my dad. Emma's voice broke at the end, and she wiped her tears angrily, as if she were mad at herself for crying. When was this going to happen? Next Thursday. That's why we ran away the day before yesterday. We knew that after she was taken, maybe I'd never see her again. Melissa was silent for a moment, processing everything. 2 girls who had lost their parents, were rejected by their aunt, separated in the shelter system, and now were running away so they wouldn't lose each other. It was heartbreaking. "And the cabin?" she asked. "How did you know about that place?" "It was our grandfather's," Emma replied. "Our mom's dad. He passed away 2 years ago. We used to spend vacations there when we were little. No one uses that place anymore. I thought we could hide there until I could think of something." "Until you could think of something?" Melissa looked at that 11-year-old girl trying to solve adult problems. "Emma, you're a child. You shouldn't have to think about these things." "But I have to think." Emma stood up, frustrated. "There's no one else. Our aunt doesn't want us. At the shelter, they just want to separate us. I only have Lily and she only has me. If I don't take care of her, who will?" The silence that followed was heavy. Melissa looked at the 2 girls on the couch. Emma, trying to be strong, to be an adult, carrying a weight that shouldn't be hers. Lily, scared and traumatized, lost in a world that had been too cruel to her. And Melissa thought of herself, of the news she had received weeks ago, of the emptiness she had felt since then, of the dream of being a mother that would never come true. And now here were 2 children who needed a mother, and she who needed a purpose. But it wasn't that simple. She couldn't just keep them. There were laws, processes, a whole bureaucracy, and more importantly, there was the whole situation of them being runaways from a shelter. If anyone found out they were there, Melissa could be in serious trouble. "Look," she said finally, "you'll stay here tonight. Tomorrow, I'll see what I can do." "Are you going to send us back?" Lily asked, her voice small. "I don't know yet what I'm going to do, but I know I can't just leave you on the street. So for now, you stay here. Rest, eat properly, sleep properly. And tomorrow, we'll talk more." Emma didn't seem totally convinced, but she was too tired to argue. Lily was already almost asleep again on the couch. Melissa took them to the guest room, made the bed, and the 2 girls lay down together, Emma wrapping Lily in her protective arms. Melissa stood there for a moment, watching them. Then she turned off the light and left, closing the door. In the living room, she sat on the couch and buried her face in her hands. What had she done? She had just taken in 2 runaways. If anyone found out, she could be charged with kidnapping, with hiding minors. But how could she simply hand them back to a system that separated them, that treated them like numbers? The phone rang, startling her. It was Brittany, her best friend. "Melissa, you disappeared. I called you yesterday and you didn't answer. Is everything okay?" "Sorry, Beth." Melissa massaged her temples. I've had a lot on my mind." "I know. It's because of the doctor's news, right? Look, I know it's tough, but you can't lock yourself up at home. Let's go out, have some wine, talk. It'll do you good." "I can't today. I have some things to take care of." "What things?" "It's complicated." "Melissa, you're worrying me. You haven't been yourself since you got that news. I understand it's painful, but Beth, I'll be okay, really. I just need some time." Brittany sighed on the other end of the line. "All right, but call me if you need anything, okay? For anything." "Okay, thanks." Melissa hung up and put the phone aside. She looked toward the guest room door. She didn't know what she was doing. She didn't know if she was doing the right thing, but she knew she couldn't just ignore what had happened. That night, Melissa barely slept. She lay awake thinking about all the possibilities, all the scenarios. She could take the girls back to the shelter in the morning. It was the safest, the most legally correct thing to do. But how would she explain where she found them? How could she ensure they wouldn't be separated again? Or she could try to help them somehow. Maybe find a lawyer, understand the situation better, see if there was a legal way to guarantee the sisters could stay together. But that would take time, and meanwhile they would be considered runaways. And Melissa an accomplice. At 5 in the morning, she got up and went to the kitchen to make coffee. She was filling the kettle when she heard soft footsteps. She turned and saw Emma standing in the kitchen doorway, her hair messy and eyes red. "I couldn't sleep," the girl said. "Me neither." Emma came into the kitchen and sat at the table. They were silent for a moment, only the sound of boiling water filling the space. "You're going to take us back today, right?" Emma asked, her voice neutral. but Melissa sensed the tension behind it. I haven't decided what I'm going to do yet. If you decide to take us back, can you at least wait until tomorrow? Emma looked at Melissa with pleading eyes. Today is Anna's birthday. She's turning 8. I wanted her to have at least one good day, you know? A day without having to worry, without being afraid. Just one day. Melissa felt her heart tighten. Today was Lily's birthday, and there she was, a runaway, afraid of being separated from her sister, far from everything and everyone she had ever loved. Okay, said Melissa. Today is her birthday, so today she'll have a special day. We'll make a cake, sing happy birthday, do everything an 8-year-old girl deserves on her birthday. Emma's face lit up, and for the first time, Melissa saw a genuine smile on that child. Really? You would do that? Really? But there's one condition. Emma's smile wavered. You have to enjoy the day too, without worrying all the time. Today you two are just two girls at a birthday party. Can you do that? Emma nodded, her eyes shining with held-back tears. And so it was. That day Melissa did her best to give the girls a special day. They went to the supermarket together, picked out ingredients for the cake, bought some simple gifts. Back at home they made the cake together, laughing when batter splattered on the wall, when Emma added too much sugar, and Lily accidentally spilled flour on the floor. In the afternoon they sat in the garden. Melissa had a small backyard with a few flowers. Lily ran among them, Emma following, and for the first time since she had met them, Melissa saw them acting like real children, without fear, without worry, just being kids. When night fell, they sang Happy Birthday. It was just the three of them, but Lily blew out the candles with the biggest smile Melissa had ever seen. And when the girl opened the presents, simple toys and new clothes, she hugged Melissa so tightly she almost knocked her over. "Thank you," whispered Lily. "Thank you." Melissa hugged both girls, feeling something break and rebuild inside her at the same time. And in that moment, she made a decision. She didn't know if it was the right decision. She didn't know if it would work, but she knew she couldn't just send them back. "Girls," she said when they separated from the hug, "I need to be honest with you. Your situation is complicated, very complicated. But I'm going to try to help." "How?" Emma asked. "I don't know exactly yet. But tomorrow, I'll start looking for answers. I'll try to understand what needs to be done to make sure you stay together. I won't promise it will work, but I'll try. And in the meantime," Emma held Lily's hand, "in the meantime, you stay here, with me. But there's one thing. You can't leave the house. If someone sees you, they'll ask questions. And I don't know how to answer those questions yet, so for now we lay low here until I figure out what to do. Okay?" The girls nodded, and Melissa saw hope in their eyes. Hope that maybe, just maybe, things could work out. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. On Monday, Melissa had to go back to school. She taught Portuguese to elementary school classes. Before leaving, she gave all the instructions to the girls. Don't answer the door, don't make noise, don't open the windows. Emma promised they would be quiet. During classes, Melissa could barely concentrate. Her mind was at home with the girls on everything that could go wrong. During the break, she went to the teacher's lounge and looked for Robert, a colleague she had been friends with for years. "Robert, can I talk to you?" she asked, trying to keep her voice casual. "Sure, what's up?" Melissa pulled him to a more private corner. "I need some advice. Let's say someone I know is going through a complicated situation, a complicated legal situation. What kind of lawyer should this person look for?" Robert looked at her, curious. "What kind of situation?" "It has to do with child custody." "Oh, well, it depends. If it's a custody dispute between parents, it's one thing. If it's adoption, it's another. Why do you ask? Are you thinking of adopting?" Melissa hesitated. She couldn't tell the truth. Not yet. It's more complicated than that. But yes, it has to do with adoption, or something like that. "My wife is a lawyer," said Robert. "She works in family law. Maybe she can help. Do you want me to ask her to call you? That would be great. Thanks, Robert. That evening, the phone rang. It was Jennifer, Robert's wife. Robert told me you're thinking about adoption, she said, getting straight to the point. Do you want to schedule a meeting to talk? Yes, but it's urgent. Can it be tomorrow? Of course, tomorrow at 3 at my office. Robert will give you the address. Melissa hung up and sighed with relief. At least she had a first step. The next day, she went to Jennifer's office as soon as she left school. The lawyer was a woman in her 40s, hair tied in an elegant bun, wearing an impeccable suit. So, said Jennifer, pointing to a chair. Robert told me you want to talk about adoption, but given the urgency, I imagine it's not a typical adoption. What's going on? Melissa took a deep breath. She had no choice but to trust someone. 3 days ago, I found 2 girls hiding in a cabin I bought. They ran away from a shelter because they were going to be separated. They're sisters. They lost their parents 6 months ago. Jennifer leaned forward, her face serious. And where are they now? At my house. Melissa, do you understand the gravity of this? You're harboring runaways. If they find out, you could be prosecuted. I know, but I couldn't just return them. They were starving, terrified, and the older one told me they've already been separated twice. They just want to stay together. Jennifer was silent for a moment, typing something on her computer. What are these girls' names? Emma and Lily, last name Johnson. Jennifer continued typing, then read something on the screen. Her face grew more serious. They're looking for them. There's an active search warrant. The shelter director, Harold Parks, reported them missing. There's even a small reward for information. A reward? Yes, $500. Which is strange, considering shelters don't usually do that. Emma told me the director received government money for each child. Maybe he's worried about losing that money. That would be extremely illegal if true, said Jennifer, frowning. But it wouldn't be the first time I've heard stories like that. Okay, let's work with what we have. First thing, you can't just keep these girls. We need to regularize the situation. And for that, you'll have to tell the authorities where they are. But they'll separate them again. Not necessarily. If we can prove there are irregularities at the shelter, we might get the girls placed in a temporary home that ensures they stay together. And then, you can start a process for temporary custody with an eye toward adoption. How long would that take? Normally, months, maybe years, but if we can prove there are problems at the shelter and that you're able to care for them, we can speed up the process. You're single, have a steady job, own your home. That helps. And in the meantime? In the meantime, the girls will probably have to go back to the shelter or be placed in a temporary home. No. Melissa stood up. I can't do that to them. I promised I'd try to help. If I return them now, they'll lose all trust in adults. Melissa, I understand your point, but you need to understand the risk you're taking. If anyone finds out you're hiding these girls, you lose any chance of getting custody in the future. They'll charge you with kidnapping, obstruction of justice. Then tell me, what do I do? Jennifer sighed, running her hand through her hair. Give me a few days. I'll investigate this shelter, this director, see if I can find anything that might help us. Meanwhile, you keep the girls at home away from prying eyes, and when we have more information, we decide the next step. But Melissa, you need to be prepared. It might be that in the end, you'll have to turn them in, at least temporarily. I understand. Melissa left the office with a heavy heart. It wasn't the answer she wanted, but at least she had someone helping. Someone who knew the laws, who might perhaps find a loophole, a way to make things work. When she got home, she found the girls watching TV in the living room. Emma stood up immediately, her eyes anxious. So, what did you find out? I talked to a lawyer. She's going to try to help us, but it'll take a little while. In the meantime, you need to stay here, quiet, without drawing attention. Okay, we'll be quiet, we promise. In the following days, Melissa established a routine. She would wake up early, prepare breakfast for the girls, leave instructions, go to school, and return in the late afternoon. In the evening, they would have dinner together, watch TV, and talk. Slowly, the girls began to open up more. Lily, who at first barely spoke, started telling stories about her parents, about how her mother used to make pancakes on Sundays, how her father would take her to the park to fly kites. Emma, who always tried to be strong, began to show her vulnerability, admitting that she was scared, that sometimes she cried alone at night. And Melissa, who had spent weeks feeling empty and without purpose, began to feel something different. She began to feel that maybe, just maybe, this was exactly what all of them needed. But the peace didn't last long. On Thursday afternoon, a week after she had found the girls, Melissa was at school when she got a call from Jennifer. "Melissa, I need to talk to you. It's urgent." "What is it?" "I can't talk about it over the phone. Can you come to my office now?" "But I'm still at school. I don't get out until 5. "It's important. Very important." Jennifer's tone made Melissa feel a knot in her stomach. She asked to leave early, made up an excuse about a family emergency, and went straight to the lawyer's office. "What happened?" she asked as soon as she walked in. Jennifer pointed to the chair and waited for Melissa to sit down. "I looked into the St. Francis home and the director, Harold Parks, and I found a lot." "What kind of things?" "Financial irregularities, for starters. The shelter receives government subsidies based on the number of children housed, and in the last 2 years the numbers don't add up. There are records of children who are supposedly there, but who were actually transferred or adopted months ago. And the money keeps coming." "Is he embezzling money?" "It looks like it, but there's more. I spoke with some people who worked there. They all tell the same story. Harold is obsessed with numbers. He doesn't want children to be adopted or transferred because that means losing the funding, so he makes adoptions difficult, creates unnecessary bureaucracy and separate siblings." "Why separate siblings?" "Because siblings are harder to adopt together. Most families only want one child, so if he separates them, it increases the chances that neither of them will be adopted, and they stay in the shelter generating funding." Melissa felt nauseous. That was exactly what Emma had said. They wanted to separate them, not because it was better for the girls, but for money. That's monstrous. Yes, and it's illegal. But here's the problem. Even with this information, I can't just file a formal complaint without concrete evidence. I need documents, witnesses willing to speak officially. And that takes time. How much time? Weeks, maybe months. And in the meantime, the girls are still being looked for. They're still runaways. Yes. Melissa ran her hands over her face. It seemed like every step forward meant 2 steps back. "But there's one thing we can do," Jennifer said. "We can try to get a court order to prevent Lily's transfer while the case is being investigated. If we succeed, at least we buy time for the girls to stay together in the shelter while we work on the case against Harold. But for that, they have to go back to the shelter." "Yes. I can't do that, Jennifer, I can't." "Melissa, you need to think with your head. The longer this goes on, the worse the situation gets. If someone finds out where the girls are..." I know, okay? But how can I look at those girls and tell them I'm sending them back to the place that hurt them? You'll tell them it's temporary, that you'll keep fighting for them, and you will. I'll be by your side. We'll do everything we can. But we need to do things the right way. Melissa left Jennifer's office feeling worse than when she entered. She drove home on autopilot, her mind spinning. When she walked in, she found the girls on the couch, Lily drawing while Emma read a book. "Hi," Lily smiled when she saw her. "Look what I drew. It's you, Emma, and me." Melissa looked at the drawing. 3 figures holding hands, big smiles on their faces. Above it, written in crooked letters, "Our family." And it was at that moment Melissa knew she couldn't do what Jennifer had asked. She couldn't return the girls. Not yet. Maybe never. "It's beautiful, Lily," she said, swallowing the lump in her throat. "I'll keep it forever." That night, after the girls fell asleep, Melissa lay awake thinking. Was there any way to make this work without having to return them? Some legal loophole, some alternative path? Suddenly, she remembered something. The cabin. Emma had said the cabin belonged to their grandfather. If the cabin had belonged to their grandfather, maybe there were documents, papers, something that could help, maybe even a will mentioning the girls. The next day, after school, She picked up the girls and went back to the cabin. She hadn't been there since the day she found them. The place was just as before, dusty, looking abandoned. "Why are we back here?" Emma asked, suspicious. "I want to look for something. You said this place belonged to your grandfather. He might have left papers, documents, something that could help us." They started searching. There were boxes scattered around the cabin, most of them full of old things, clothes, utensils. Melissa opened them one by one, while the girls helped. It was Emma who found it. At the bottom of a box hidden behind an old cabinet, there was a folder of documents. Inside, yellowed papers, old bills, and in the middle of it all, a letter. "What is this?" Emma asked. Melissa took the letter and started reading. It was a letter written by the girl's grandfather, Grandpa Anthony Johnson, addressed to whom it may concern. In the letter, he explained that his granddaughters, Emma and Lily, were very important to him, that after the loss of their parents, he had tried to get custody of them, but his advanced age and fragile health caused the request to be denied. He wrote that he wished the girls to stay together, always, and that if someday someone could take care of them, they should do so with love. It wasn't an official will, it didn't have strong legal value, but it was something. It was proof that someone cared, that someone wanted them to stay together. "What does it say?" Emma asked, seeing the tears in Melissa's eyes. "It says your grandfather loved you, and that he wanted you to always stay together." Melissa took the letter back home, and that night she sent a picture of it to Jennifer. The lawyer replied quickly, "This could help. It's not a will, but it shows intention. It shows there's a history of the family's desire to keep the girls together. I'll see what I can do with this." Days passed, turning into weeks. Melissa kept the girls hidden at home, always afraid that someone would knock on the door, that someone would find out. School started asking questions about her state, noticing she was distracted, tired, but she couldn't tell the truth. It was on a Friday afternoon, 3 weeks after she found the girls, that everything started to fall apart. Melissa was coming back from school when she saw a car parked in front of her house, a car she didn't recognize. Her heart raced. She parked on the side street and watched. A woman got out of the car and went to the front door. She rang the doorbell. Melissa knew the girls wouldn't answer, but she still felt panic. The woman waited, rang again, then looked around and went to the window, trying to look inside. Melissa grabbed her phone and called home. Emma picked up on the second ring. "Hello? It's me. There's a woman at the door. Don't answer. Stay quiet, away from the windows." "Okay, who is she?" "I don't know, but stay quiet." Melissa continued watching. The woman walked around the house again, tried to look through the back window, then returned to the car. But she didn't leave. She stayed there, waiting. Melissa didn't know what to do. She couldn't come home with that woman there, but she also couldn't leave the girls alone for too long. After 15 minutes of waiting, the woman finally left. Melissa waited another 10 minutes to be sure, then quickly entered the house. The girls were in the bedroom, scared. "Who was it?" Emma asked. "I don't know, but I'll find out." She called Jennifer and told her what happened. The lawyer was silent for a moment. "Melissa, I think someone is getting suspicious. It could have been a social worker, an investigator. I don't know, but you need to be careful. Very careful." "What do I do?" "Keep hiding the girls and stay alert. Any strange movement, you call me immediately." But the situation only got worse. On Saturday morning, Melissa went to the corner bakery to buy bread. When she was coming back, she saw posters stuck on the street poles, posters with pictures of Emma and Lily. "Missing," it said in big letters. They offered a $1,000 reward for information. Melissa tore down the posters she could see, but knew it wouldn't help much. There were probably dozens of them scattered around the city. When she got home, she showed the posters to the girls. Emma turned pale. "They're looking for us. They're going to find us." "No, they won't," said Melissa, trying to sound confident. "You're safe here." But she wasn't so sure. That night, Melissa barely slept again. Every noise on the street made her jump. Every passing car made her look out the window. She was living in a constant state of alert, and it was starting to take its toll. On Monday, at school, she was called to the principal's office. "Melissa," said the principal, Mrs. Peterson, a woman in her 60s with grey hair and glasses on the tip of her nose. "We need to talk." "About what?" "About you. You haven't been the same these past few weeks. The other teachers mentioned that you're distracted, that your classes aren't the same quality as before. The students noticed. Is something going on?" Melissa hesitated. She wanted to tell. She wanted to vent, to ask for help. But she was afraid of the consequences. I'm going through some personal things, but I'll improve. I promise." "Melissa, you've worked here for 7 years. You're one of our best teachers. But I can't ignore when performance drops. If you need some time, we can talk about a leave." "No, I don't need a leave. I'll be fine." Mrs. Peterson didn't seem convinced, but nodded. "Okay, but if anything changes, you come to me, right?" "Right." Melissa left the principal's office with a heavy heart. Another complication, another thing to worry about. When she returned home that afternoon, she found the girls quieter than usual. Emma was sitting on the couch, her eyes red. Lily was curled up beside her. "What happened?" Melissa asked, alarmed. I heard you talking with the lawyer last night," Emma admitted. "You said we might have to go back to the shelter." Melissa closed her eyes. She had called Jennifer late at night, when she thought the girls were sleeping. But Emma must have woken up and heard. "Emma, you're going to send us back, aren't you? We knew it. We knew it was too good to be true. No one ever really wanted us." "That's not true." Melissa knelt in front of the girls. "I want you here. I want to help. But the situation is complicated. There are laws, procedures. It's not as simple as I'd like." "But you promised," Lily cried. "You promised you would try." "And I am trying. I'm doing everything I can. Jennifer is working on the case. She's investigating the shelter. But these things take time." "We don't have time," said Emma, her voice firm despite the tears. "Every day that passes, more people are looking for us. More chances of us being found, and when we are found, they'll separate us. They'll put Lily in one city, me in another, and we'll never see each other again. I won't let that happen." "But how? How will you stop it? You have no power over us. You're not our mother, not our guardian. You're just someone we met a few weeks ago." Emma's words hurt because they were true. Melissa had no power. She had no rights over the girls. Legally, she was just a stranger hiding runaways. "Emma, Lily, I understand your fear. I understand your frustration, but you need to trust me. You need to believe that I will do everything in my power to make sure you stay together." Emma didn't answer. She just hugged Lily tighter and looked away. That night, Melissa lay awake again, thinking about everything that had happened, about all the choices she had made. Had she done the right thing by sheltering the girls? Or had she just made the situation worse? Suddenly, her phone rang. It was Jennifer. "Melissa, sorry to call so late, but you need to know something." "What is it?" "Harold Parks, the shelter director. He's putting on pressure. He's going door to door in the area, showing pictures of the girls, asking if anyone has seen them, and offering a bigger reward. 2,000 reais now." 2,000 reais? "Yes, and there's more. He's saying the girls are in danger, that they might be with someone with bad intentions. He's making it look like a kidnapping case." "But it's not. They ran away on their own." "I know. But he's manipulating the narrative, and it's working. Several people are looking for the girls now. It's only a matter of time before someone finds out where they are." Melissa felt her world collapse. She didn't know what to do anymore. "Jennifer, tell me honestly, is there any chance I can keep these girls? Any chance at all?" There was a long pause. "Honestly." "It's difficult, very difficult. You're single, you have no legal ties to the girls, and on top of that, you're technically committing a crime by hiding them. Even if we can prove the irregularities at the shelter, that doesn't guarantee you'll get custody. The girls could be transferred to another shelter, or to a foster family, or even to their aunt if she changes her mind. The aunt doesn't want them, Emma told me. It doesn't matter what she wants, it matters what the law says, and the law says relatives have priority." Melissa hung up the phone and started to cry. She cried for everything. For the news she had received weeks ago about never being able to have children. For the 2 girls sleeping in the next room whom she already loved as if they were her own. for the injustice of it all, for the feeling of powerlessness. And then, in the midst of her tears, she made a decision. A crazy, desperate decision, but one that seemed like the only option. She wouldn't return the girls. She wouldn't wait for them to be discovered. She would leave. She would take Emma and Lily far away to a place where no one knew them, where they could start over. Was it illegal? Yes. Was it crazy? Probably. But it was the only way to ensure the girls stayed together, that they had a chance to be happy. The next day she started planning. She would take a trip, tell the school she had a family emergency. She would take the girls to another city, maybe to the countryside, far from Aspen. She would find a small town where no one asked questions. But before she could put the plan into action, everything fell apart completely. It was Wednesday afternoon. Melissa was at school when her cell phone rang. It was an unknown number. She hesitated but answered. "Hello? Professor Melissa?" A firm, professional female voice. "Yes, who is this?" "My name is Caroline Miller. I'm a social worker for the county. I need to speak with you. It's about 2 girls who might be in your home." Melissa's blood ran cold. "I don't know what you're talking about." "Professor, please, let's make this easy. We received a report that Emma and Lily Johnson are at your residence. We know you found them weeks ago and didn't report it. We know everything." "Who reported it?" "I can't reveal that. But I need to check on the girls' situation. I can come to your house now, or we can schedule a time, but I need to see them. Today." Melissa felt her legs weaken. Everything she had fought for, everything she had tried was crumbling. Can I come to your office with the girls?" "You can, but it needs to be now. The address is 234 Hydrangea Street, at 4 o'clock. If you don't show up, I'll be forced to send someone to your home." Caroline hung up. Melissa stood frozen in the middle of the teacher's lounge, phone still in hand. Her world was ending. She rushed out of the school, drove home. When she entered, the girls were watching TV. "Girls," she said, trying to control her voice, "we need to leave, now." "Where to?" Emma stood up, noticing the urgent tone. "We have to go talk to a social worker. They know you're here." Emma's face turned white. Lily started crying. "No, I don't want to go back. I don't want to." I know. Melissa hugged them both. "But we have no choice. If we don't go, they'll come here. At least this way, I can be with you. I can explain." The drive to the social worker's office was silent. The girls were in the back seat, Emma holding Lily's hand, both with tears streaming down their faces. When they arrived, they were greeted by Caroline, a woman about 45, with short hair and a grey suit. She led them to a private room. "Please, sit down," she said, pointing to the chairs. Melissa sat, the girls on either side of her, clinging to her arms. "So," Caroline began, looking at Melissa, "do you want to tell me what happened? How did these girls end up in your home?" Melissa told her everything. From the day she bought the cabin, found the girls, took them home. She told her about their fear of being separated, about the grandfather's letter, about everything. Caroline listened silently, taking notes. When Melissa finished, she sighed. "I understand the situation, and I understand your intentions, but you must understand that what you did was illegal. These girls are runaways from a shelter. Hiding them, not reporting it, that's obstruction, I know. But they were going to be separated. I couldn't let that happen. The decision to transfer a child isn't made lightly. It's done with the child's best interest in mind." "Best interest?" Emma stood up, her voice loud. "You separated me from my sister twice. Twice I went weeks without seeing her. She cried every night. I cried too. How is that best interest?" Caroline looked at Emma, then at Lily, who was curled up in her chair, trembling. "Emma, I understand the situation hasn't been easy, but there are protocols that need to be followed." "Protocols?" Emma laughed humorlessly. "That's what matters to you? Protocols? We're not protocols. We're people. We're sisters. And all we want is to stay together." "And you will stay together," said Caroline. "I spoke with the shelter director. He assured me you won't be separated again." "He lied." Emma crossed her arms. "He lies about everything." Emma, I know you're upset, but you need to understand. No, you don't understand anything. Emma was crying now. You don't know what it's like to lose your parents, to be placed in a strange place, to be treated like a number. You don't know what it's like to have to care for an 8-year-old sister when you yourself are only 11. You don't know anything. Emma, Melissa tried to calm the girl, but Emma pulled away. And you know what's worse? Emma continued, looking angrily at Caroline. I thought I had finally found someone who cared, someone who truly wanted us. But now you're going to take that away from us too. You're going to take everything we have all over again. The silence that followed was painful. Caroline looked at Emma, at Lily, at Melissa. For a moment something passed through the social worker's eyes, perhaps compassion, perhaps understanding. But then she composed herself. I'll do this, she said. For now, the girls can go back with you. But this is temporary, very temporary, very. I'll talk to the shelter director. I'll check the situation, I'll speak with my superiors, and then we'll decide the next step. But you need to understand, Melissa, that the girls will likely have to return. And if there are irregularities at the shelter, Melissa asked, and if there's proof that the director is acting illegally, if there's concrete proof, that's another story. But so far, everything you've told me are allegations. I need evidence. Melissa thought of the lawyer, of everything Jennifer was investigating. And if I get that evidence? Then we can talk, but I can't promise anything. They left the office with a bittersweet feeling. On one hand, the girls were still with Melissa. On the other, it was only a matter of time before everything changed. That night, Melissa called Jennifer and told her everything. Caroline Miller, said Jennifer. I know her. She's a good social worker, fair, but follows the rules. If she said she needs evidence, then that's what we'll give her. But you said you needed time to investigate. And I have been investigating. In fact, I got something today. A former shelter employee agreed to speak officially. She has documents, records, everything we need to prove that Harold is embezzling money and manipulating the system. Really? Really. But there's a problem. She'll only speak if she has guarantees she won't face retaliation. And for that, I need to file a formal complaint with the district attorney's office, and that will take a few days. How many days? A week, maybe 2. Melissa took a deep breath. 2 weeks. Could she keep the girls for 2 weeks? Okay, do what you need to do. I'll hold things down here. But things didn't get easier. In the following days, the pressure increased. Caroline called several times, asking for updates, making inquiries. Harold, the shelter director, showed up once at Melissa's house demanding to see the girls. She managed to avoid a direct confrontation, but he made it clear he wouldn't give up. These girls belong to the shelter, he said, standing at Melissa's doorstep, and I will get them back, whatever it takes. Melissa slammed the door in his face, her heart racing. And then things got even worse. On Friday, a week after the meeting with Caroline, Melissa received a call from the school principal. Melissa, I need to see you. Today. Now. About what? You'll find out when you get here. Melissa went to the school, leaving the girls at home with instructions not to open the door for anyone. When she entered the principal's office, she found not only Mrs. Peterson, but also the vice principal and another person she didn't know. Melissa, sit down, said Mrs. Peterson, her tone serious. What's going on? This is Ms. Rogers, a representative from the education department. She's here because we've received a formal complaint about you. A complaint, yes, from parents of students, saying you haven't been attentive in class, that you're negligent, that the children aren't learning. And besides, there are rumors about your personal life, rumors that you're involved in a complicated legal situation. Melissa felt her blood run cold. Harold. It had to be him. He was trying to attack her from all sides. These rumors aren't true. No? Ms. Rogers leaned forward. So you're not sheltering 2 runaway girls from a group home? It's complicated. It doesn't seem complicated to me. It seems very clear. And it also seems like you're putting your personal life above your professional responsibilities. That's not true. I've always been dedicated to my students. Perhaps before, but not now. And because of that, we're placing you on leave. Effective immediately. Leave? But it's for the best. You sort out your personal matters, and when you're ready, we can discuss your return. But until then, you're suspended. Melissa left the school in shock. She had lost her job. Or at least she was suspended. And without a job, how would she prove she could take care of the girls? When she got home, she found the girls frightened. There was a letter on the door. Melissa opened it and read it. It was from Harold, saying he had filed a formal request for the girls to be returned to the home, and that he had succeeded. There was a hearing scheduled for Monday. If Melissa didn't produce the girls, a search warrant would be issued. "What does the letter say?" Emma asked, seeing Melissa's pale face. It says you have to go back to the home on Monday." "No," Lily started crying. "No, no, no." Calm down," Melissa hugged them both. "We'll think of something. But she didn't know what to do. It seemed like every door was closing. She had lost her job, the lawyer still didn't have the necessary evidence, and now there was a deadline. Monday. It was only 3 days away. That weekend, Melissa barely left her room. The girls stayed quiet, feeling the weight of the situation. Everything they had fought for, all the time they had spent together, seemed to be coming to an end. On Sunday evening, the phone rang. It was Jennifer. "Melissa, I got it. I got the evidence." "What? How?" "The former employee agreed to testify, and she has everything. Documents proving the embezzlement, emails showing how Harold manipulated transfers to keep children in the home, everything. I filed a formal complaint today. The district attorney's office will investigate. But the hearing is tomorrow." "I know, and I'll be there. I'll present this evidence to the judge. I can't guarantee it will change the immediate outcome, but it will at least plant doubts. It will show that there's something wrong with that home." It was a small hope, but it was better than nothing. On Monday morning, Melissa and the girls went to the courthouse. It was a large, imposing building that made Melissa feel even smaller. Caroline, the social worker, was there. Harold was there too, with a lawyer by his side. The hearing began. The judge, a man about 60 years old with graying hair and reading glasses, listened to both sides. Harold spoke first, saying the girls were runaways, that Melissa had hidden them illegally, that they needed to return to the home where they would receive proper care. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please take a moment to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. Then it was Jennifer's turn. She stood up, organized, professional, and began to speak. She presented the grandfather's letter, showing there was a family wish to keep the girls together. Then she presented the evidence against Harold, the documents, the embezzlement, everything. Harold's face turned red. He tried to interrupt, but the judge told him to shut up. "These are serious accusations," said the judge, flipping through the documents. "Very serious." "They're true accusations," Jennifer replied, "and the district attorney's office is already investigating. This man shouldn't have custody of any child, let alone these 2 girls whom he deliberately tried to separate for financial reasons." Harold Parks's lawyer tried to counter-argue, but it was clear he was losing ground. The judge listened to everything, then looked at Emma and Lily, who were sitting next to Melissa holding hands. "Girls," he said, his tone softer, "I understand this situation has been difficult for you, and I promise I'll do everything I can to resolve it in the best way. But I need you to understand, laws exist to protect you, and sometimes that means making tough decisions." "Your Honor," Emma stood up, surprising everyone. "May I speak?" The judge hesitated, but nodded. "The law might exist to protect us, but nobody protected us until now. Nobody cared when they separated us the first time, or the second. Nobody cared when we cried every night. The only person who truly cared was Melissa. She didn't have to help us. She didn't gain anything from it. But she did. And now you want to take us away from her. Why? Because of laws, protocols? But where were these laws when we needed them before?" The silence in the room was deafening. The judge looked at Emma, then at Melissa, then at the documents before him. "I'll need some time to review all of this," he finally said. For now, the girls can stay with teacher Melissa, under the supervision of social worker Caroline. But this is temporary, until I make a final decision. I'll schedule a new hearing for 2 weeks from now. By then, I hope to have more information about the district attorney's office's investigations into the shelter. It was a small victory, but a victory nonetheless. They left the courthouse with 2 more weeks of time. 2 weeks to try and make things work. But the relief was short-lived. That same afternoon, while they were at home, the doorbell rang. Melissa answered and found a woman she didn't know. She was about her age, well-dressed, with impeccable makeup. "Yes?" Melissa asked. "Are you Melissa Johnson?" "I am. Who are you?" "My name is Samantha Parks. I'm Emma and Lily's aunt." Melissa's heart nearly stopped. The aunt who hadn't wanted the girls, was there, at her door. "What do you want?" "I want to see my nieces. I have that right, don't I?" Melissa didn't want to let her in, but she couldn't just shut the door in her face. Reluctantly, she opened the door. Samantha entered, looking around with a critical eye. Emma and Lily were in the living room. When they saw their aunt, both tensed up. "Hi, girls," said Samantha, forcing a smile. "It's been a while since we've seen each other." "What do you want?" Emma asked, straight to the point. "I want to talk about you, about your future, about—" "We don't have a future with you. You made it very clear you didn't want us." "That's not true. I was going through a tough time when your parents passed away. I wasn't prepared. But now I'm thinking differently." "Thinking differently?" Emma crossed her arms. "Or thinking about the inheritance?" Samantha turned red. "I don't know what you're talking about." "I'm talking about the cabin, the land, everything that belonged to Grandpa. You want that, don't you? That's why you showed up now." Samantha looked at Melissa, then back at Emma. "The cabin and the land are part of the family inheritance. And yes, the girls are entitled to it. But as minors, they need a legal guardian to manage it. And I'm the closest relative." "Oh, so that's it," Melissa understood. "You don't want the girls. You want what they have." "I didn't come here to be insulted," Samantha stood up. "I came to make a proposal. I'm filing for custody of the girls. As their aunt, I have legal priority. And unlike you, I have blood ties with them." "Blood ties don't mean anything," said Melissa. "What matters is love, care, and you've shown neither." "That's what you think. But let's see what the judge thinks. We'll meet at the next hearing." Samantha left, leaving a heavy atmosphere behind. Melissa looked at the girls. Both were pale. "She can't take us, can she?" Lily asked, trembling. "I won't let her," said Melissa. "I won't let anyone separate you. Not Harold, not her, nobody." But the truth was, Melissa didn't know if she could keep that promise. Things were getting more and more complicated. There was Harold on one side, trying to take the girls back to the shelter. Samantha on the other, wanting custody for financial gain. And her in the middle with no legal rights, no job, not many options. In the following days, Melissa talked a lot with Jennifer, trying to understand their chances. The lawyer was honest. The situation got more complicated with Samantha in the game. As their aunt, she has legal priority. Unless we can prove she's unfit, the judge might grant her custody. And how do we prove that? We need to show her interest is purely financial, not the girl's well-being. But that's hard to prove. What about Harold? Won't the investigations get him out of the way? Eventually, yes. But these things take time. Weeks, months. And we don't have that time. The next hearing is in 10 days. Melissa hung up the phone, frustrated. It seemed like every time she solved one problem, 2 new ones appeared. That's when she decided to do something desperate. If she couldn't win in the legal system, maybe she could appeal to something more human. She decided to talk to Caroline, the social worker, with an open heart. She scheduled a meeting at Caroline's office. She went alone, without the girls. When she entered, Caroline greeted her with the same professional posture as always. "Teacher Melissa, what can I do for you? I want to talk, for real. I want, not as teacher and social worker, but as 2 women who care about these girls' well-being." Caroline leaned back in her chair, studying Melissa. "I'm listening." "Do you have children, Caroline?" "I do. 2. then you know what it's like to love a child. You know what it's like to do anything for them. You know what it's like to have that instinct to protect, to care. I do. And I also know that instinct sometimes makes us make wrong decisions. But it's not wrong to want to protect two girls who've been mistreated by the system. It's not wrong to want to make sure they stay together, that they have a chance to be happy. It's not wrong to want that. But the way you did it was wrong. You hid runaways. You obstructed the legal process. That has consequences. I know. I know I broke rules, that I made mistakes. But let me ask you this. If they were your daughters, if someone was trying to separate them for financial reasons, what would you do? Would you follow the rules, or would you do whatever was necessary to protect them? Caroline stayed silent for a long moment. Melissa could see the internal battle in the woman's eyes. "Look," Caroline said finally, "I understand where you're coming from, I really do, and I confess this situation with these girls bothers me, but I have a job to do. I have protocols to follow. I can't just ignore the law because I sympathize with the situation." "I'm not asking you to ignore the law. I'm asking you to fight on our side within the law. Use your position to make sure the judge sees what really matters, the girls' well-being." "And what do you think matters?" "It matters that they stay together. It matters that they stay with someone who truly loves them, not with an aunt who only wants their money, or a corrupt shelter director. It matters that they have a chance to be children again, to have a family, even if that family isn't conventional." Caroline sighed, running her hands over her face. "I'll be honest with you, Melissa. I've seen many cases like this one. And most of the time, they don't end well. The system is flawed. Often, children end up in worse situations than they started in. And that breaks my heart. But what can I do? I'm just a cog in the system." "You can be more than that. You can make a difference. For these two girls, you can be the difference between a life of separation and suffering and a life of love and security." Caroline looked at Melissa for a long moment. Then she nodded slowly. "I'll see what I can do. I won't promise anything, but I'll see what I can do." Melissa left the office with a little more hope. It wasn't a promise, it wasn't a guarantee, but it was something. The days passed quickly. The hearing date was approaching. Melissa tried to keep the girls busy, distracted, but it was hard to ignore the tension in the air. Everyone knew that hearing would decide everything. The night before the hearing, Melissa couldn't sleep. She stayed awake all night, thinking about everything that had happened in the last few weeks. It had been an emotional roller coaster, ups and downs, hopes and despairs. Early in the morning, before the girls woke up, she went to the room where they were sleeping. She watched Emma and Lily cuddled in bed, sleeping peacefully, and in that moment, Melissa knew she had made the right choice. Regardless of what happened at the hearing, regardless of the consequences, she regretted nothing. Because she had given those girls something no one else had, a safe place, unconditional love, and the certainty that someone would fight for them to the end. The hearing was scheduled for 10 in the morning. Melissa, Emma, and Lily arrived early. Jennifer was already there with a stack of documents. Caroline was also present. Harold arrived with his lawyer, and to Melissa's surprise, Samantha was there too. When they entered the judge's room, Melissa held both girls' hands. The judge entered, sat down, and the hearing began. "Well," said the judge, "since the last hearing, a lot has happened. I've received reports from the district attorney's office about the investigations at the St. Francis Home Shelter. I've also received a custody request from Miss Samantha Parks, the girl's aunt, and I've received the social worker Caroline Miller's report on the girl's current situation. I'll hear from everyone, and then I'll make a decision." It started with Harold. The shelter director tried to defend himself against the accusations, saying it was all just misunderstandings, that he always acted in the children's best interest. "Can you explain," said the judge, interrupting him, "why there are records of children supposedly in your shelter, but who were actually transferred or adopted months ago?" "Administrative errors," answered Harold, sweating. "It happens sometimes." "Errors that result in improper government payments?" Harold had no answer. Then it was Samantha's turn. She talked about how she was the girl's aunt, how she had blood ties, how she wanted to give them a home. "And what changed?" asked the judge. From what I understand, you had the opportunity to take the girls after their parents' death, but you refused. I was going through a tough time, said Samantha, but now I'm in a better situation. I can take care of them. And the fact that there's an inheritance involved has nothing to do with your sudden decision. Samantha turned red. I'm family. I have a legal right. Legal right doesn't mean it's the best choice, said the judge. Then it was Caroline's turn. The social worker stood up and presented her report. In the last few days, she said, I've closely observed the girl's situation with teacher Melissa, and I must say that, despite the irregular circumstances, the environment is healthy. The girls are well cared for, fed, attending temporary homeschooling. More importantly, they're happy, and they're together. And your recommendation? Asked the judge. Caroline hesitated for a moment. Then she took a deep breath. My recommendation is that the girls remain with teacher Melissa while she begins a formal process for temporary custody with the goal of adoption. I see no benefit in returning them to the shelter, especially with the ongoing investigations. And although Samantha is their aunt, I don't believe her interest is genuine in the girls' well-being. There was a murmur in the room. Harold protested. Samantha did too. But the judge called for silence. And what about the fact that teacher Melissa hid runaways? I believe, said Caroline, that she acted out of maternal instinct, not bad faith. She saw 2 children in danger and tried to help. It wasn't the right way, but her intention was good. The judge nodded, taking notes. Then he looked at Emma and Lily. Girls, I'd like to hear what you have to say. Emma, you spoke at the last hearing, but I want to hear Lily too. Lily, can you come here? Lily looked at Melissa, frightened. Melissa nodded encouragingly. The girl stood up and went to the judge, her legs trembling. Lily, said the judge, his tone gentle, you don't need to be afraid. I just want to ask a few questions, okay? Lily nodded. Do you know why we're here today? Yes. You're going to decide where Emma and I will live. That's right. And I want to know what you want. Where do you want to stay? With Melissa, Lily answered without hesitating. And with Emma. Together. Why with Melissa? Because she takes care of us. She makes food, she helps us sleep when we have nightmares, she plays with us. She makes us feel safe. And your aunt? Would you like to live with her? Lily shook her head. She never liked us. She said bad things about our mother, and she never wanted to be with us before. She only wants to now because... She looked at Emma, who nodded encouragingly, because Grandpa left things for us, and she wants those things. I see. And the shelter? Would you go back there? No. Lily started to cry. It's bad there. They separate us. I don't want to be separated from Emma ever again. She's all I have. The judge looked at the girl, then at Emma, then at Melissa. For a long moment he was silent, just thinking. Okay, Lily, thank you. You can go back and sit down. Lily ran back to Melissa's side, who hugged her. The judge then turned to everyone in the room. I'll be frank. This is a complicated case. There are many parties involved, many interests. But in the end, what matters is what's best for these girls. And based on everything I've heard, on all the reports, on all the evidence, my decision is as follows. The silence in the room was absolute. Melissa held the girl's hands so tightly it hurt. The girls, Emma and Lily Johnson, will remain under the temporary custody of teacher Melissa Johnson while she completes the formal adoption process. During this period, there will be monthly supervision by social worker Caroline Miller. As for Mr. Harold Parks, I recommend that the District Attorney's Office investigations continue and that he be temporarily removed from the shelter's management until everything is clarified. And as for Mrs. Samantha Parks, her custody request is denied. She may be entitled to supervised visits if the girls so wish, but custody will not be granted. Melissa couldn't believe it. She had won. The girls were going to stay with her. Emma and Lily started crying, hugging Melissa. Harold protested vehemently, but the judge ignored him. Samantha left the room furious. But none of that mattered. What mattered was that the girls were safe. They were together, and they had a home. After the hearing, Melissa, Emma, and Lily left the courthouse hand in hand. Jennifer was with them, smiling. "You did it," said the lawyer. "Against all odds, you did it." "We did it," corrected Melissa. "Thank you for everything. The work isn't over yet. You need to complete the adoption process. It'll take a few months, maybe a year, but the hardest part is behind us." That evening at home, Melissa prepared a special dinner to celebrate. The three of them sat at the table, talking and laughing, for the first time in weeks without the weight of uncertainty on their shoulders. "Melissa," Emma said after they finished eating, I wanted to thank you for everything, for not giving up on us, for fighting for us when no one else would." "You don't need to thank me," Melissa replied, wiping away a tear. "You've given me as much as I've given you. You gave me a purpose, a reason to wake up in the morning. You gave me a family." "Can we call you Mom?" Lily asked timidly. Melissa felt her heart tighten. Nothing would make me happier. And so, the three of them hugged, forming an unlikely but genuine family, born from difficult circumstances, but strengthened by love and determination. The weeks that followed were about adjustments. Melissa got her job back at the school after the situation was clarified. The principal apologized for the misunderstandings, and Melissa returned to teaching. Emma and Lily were officially enrolled in school. At first, they struggled. Emma especially was behind in some subjects because of all the instability she had experienced. But with time and support, both began to excel. Caroline kept her word and made monthly visits. At first, the girls were tense during these visits, afraid that something would go wrong. But over time, they began to trust more, to understand that Caroline was there to help, not to separate them. Harold was officially charged with misusing public funds and removed from the shelter. A new director was appointed, someone with a better reputation and genuine interest in the children's well-being. Samantha tried to contest the judge's decision, but was unsuccessful. Eventually, she gave up, and they never heard from her again. And the cabin? That $25 cabin that had started it all? Melissa decided to renovate it. With help from friends and neighbors, they turned the place into a weekend retreat for the family. A place where they could go to relax, to remember where it all began. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, feel free to leave a like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps us who are just starting out. Now continuing. But not everything was easy. Emma still had nightmares sometimes. She dreamed of the day she lost her parents, of the lonely nights in the shelter. In those moments, Melissa stayed by her side, holding her hand until she fell back asleep. Lily developed an intense fear of being separated from Emma. She couldn't sleep if her sister wasn't nearby. Melissa had to be very patient, gradually showing Lily that they were safe now, that no one would ever separate them again. And Melissa? She had her own demons to face. The news she had received months ago about never being able to get pregnant still hurt sometimes. There were moments when she wondered what it would be like to have a biological child, to see her traits in a child. But then she looked at Emma and Lily, saw the love in their eyes, and knew that it didn't matter if they didn't share DNA. They were her daughters in every way that truly mattered. One day, about 3 months after the hearing, Melissa was at school when she was called to the principal's office. She felt apprehensive, remembering the last time, but when she entered, she found Mrs. Peterson smiling. "Melissa, don't worry. It's nothing bad this time. In fact, it's something good." "What is it?" "We're planning an event at the school, a day of recognition for teachers who make a difference, and we want to honor you. Your story, your courage in adopting those girls, has inspired many people. Students, parents, other teachers. You've become an example. I didn't do anything special. I just did what anyone should do." "But not everyone does it, Melissa. That's where the difference lies. So, do you accept?" Melissa accepted, though with some embarrassment. She didn't like being the center of attention, but she understood the message behind it. It wasn't about her. It was about showing that love and family can come in unexpected ways. The event was beautiful. There were speeches, tributes. Emma and Lily were there watching Melissa receive a recognition plaque. At the end, both went up on stage and hugged Melissa, and the entire audience stood up in applause. That night at home, Lily was quieter than usual. Melissa noticed. "Are you okay, sweetie?" she asked. "I'm fine. Just thinking." "Thinking about what?" "About my parents, my real parents. Sometimes I feel like, if I call you Mum, I'm forgetting them. I'm being bad to them." Melissa sat down next to Lily and pulled her into a hug. "You'll never forget your parents. They are part of you, part of who you are. And it's okay to miss them, to be sad about the loss. That doesn't make you bad. And loving someone else, loving me, doesn't mean you love your parents less. The heart has room for a lot of love." "Really? Really? Your parents wanted you to be happy, right?" "Yes. Then they would be happy to know you found someone who takes care of you, who loves you. It's not a replacement, it's a new chapter. But the previous chapter is still there, still important." Lily nodded, wiping away tears. "Thank you, Mum." And in that Mum, Melissa felt all the love, all the gratitude, all the meaning of what they had built together. The months kept passing. The adoption process was moving forward, though slowly. There were papers to sign, interviews to do, evaluations to pass, but each step brought more certainty, more security that this was real, that this family would last. It was on a Saturday, almost a year after finding the girls in the cabin, that something unexpected happened. Melissa was preparing lunch when the doorbell rang. She opened the door and found an elderly lady, about 70 years old, with completely white hair, kind blue eyes. "Yes, can I help you?" Melissa asked. "Are you Melissa Johnson?" the lady asked. "I am. My name is Margaret Johnson. I'm Anthony Johnson's sister, great-aunt of Emma and Lily." Melissa was surprised. She didn't know there was more family. "Please come in, Mrs." Margaret entered, looking around. Emma and Lily came from the living room, curious. When they saw the lady, Emma's eyes widened. "Aunt Margaret! Emma! My girl!" Mrs. Margaret opened her arms, and Emma ran to her. Lily was more hesitant, not remembering the great-aunt well, but gradually she approached too. They sat in the living room. Mrs. Margaret explained that she lived in another city and had only recently found out everything that had happened to the girls. "I was traveling when your parents passed away," she said, her hands trembling. "When I came back, the girls were already with Samantha. I tried to get in touch, but Samantha told me everything was under control, that she didn't need help. And I, like a fool, believed her. Only recently a friend told me everything. About the shelter, about you, about the hearing. I came as soon as I could." "Why didn't you show up before?" Emma asked, but without anger. "Just curiosity." "Because I didn't know, my dear. If I had known, I would have come immediately. You are family, my family. And why did you come now?" Melissa asked, a bit defensive. She was afraid it was someone else trying to take the girls away from her. "I came because I wanted to meet the person who saved my great nieces. I wanted to thank you, and I wanted to offer my help if you need it." "Help how?" "Well, I know you're in the adoption process, and I know that sometimes having more family support can help. I'd like to be part of the girls' lives again if they want me to. I'm not trying to take anything away from you. I just want to be present." Melissa looked at Emma and Lily. The two seemed confused, but also curious. "What do you think, girls?" Emma thought for a moment. "I remember Aunt Margaret. She was nice. She always brought candy when she visited Grandpa. Lily didn't remember much, but if Emma said she was nice, then she must be. I think it would be good," said Emma, "to have more family. But Melissa is still our mom. That doesn't change." "Of course it doesn't change," said Mrs. Margaret, smiling. "She's your mom in every way. I just want to be the crazy grandma who spoils you with candy and presents." And so, unexpectedly, the family grew a little bigger. Mrs. Margaret started visiting them regularly. She brought stories about the girls' parents, about Anthony, about the family. She filled gaps that Emma and Lily didn't know they had. And more importantly, she fully supported Melissa in the adoption process. She even gave a statement to the judge explaining that although she was a blood relative, she recognized that Melissa was the best person to care for the girls, and that she herself couldn't take custody due to her age and health. The adoption process was finally completed on a spring afternoon, almost a year and a half after Melissa had found the girls. It was a simple ceremony at the courthouse, with the judge signing the official papers. When they left, Emma and Lily had a new last name, Johnson Rogers, a combination of their biological family's last name and Melissa's last name. "How do you feel?" asked Melissa, holding both their hands. "Complete," answered Emma, smiling. And it was true. After so much uncertainty, so much suffering, they finally had a home. They were finally a family, not by biology or obligation, but by choice and love. The following years brought more changes. Emma grew up, became a teenager. She had her typical teenage crises, her conflicts with Melissa about rules and boundaries. But deep down, the bond was strong. Emma never forgot what Melissa had done for her and for Lily. Lily also grew up, but always kept that characteristic sweetness. She became a cheerful, creative girl, always drawing and painting. Her drawings filled the house, each one a small window into her inner world. Melissa continued teaching, but she also started doing volunteer work, helping other teachers and families in adoption situations. She shared her story, her struggles, her victories, and so she helped many other families form. The cabin, that $25 place where it all began, became a special place for them. Every year, on the anniversary of the day they met, they went there. They spent the weekend, talking, reminiscing, celebrating, and always, they remembered how an impulsive purchase of an old cabin had changed 3 lives forever. But the story didn't end there, because family stories never really end. They continue, generation after generation. Emma grew up and went to university. She decided to study social work, inspired by everything she had experienced. She wanted to help other children like her, who were lost in the system. Lily followed the artistic path, studying visual arts. Her paintings began to gain recognition, many of them portraying themes of family, belonging, home. And Melissa? She grew old beside her daughters, watching them grow, become strong and independent women. She took pride in every achievement, cried at every farewell, celebrated at every return. There were difficult moments, of course. Emma had a complicated relationship in her teens that worried Melissa. Lily went through a phase of depression in college. But they faced everything together as a family, and when Emma had her first child years later, Melissa was there. She held that baby in her arms and felt immense joy. He wasn't her biological grandson, but he was her grandson in every way that mattered. "What will you name him?" asked Melissa. "Anthony," replied Emma, with tears in her eyes, "after his great-grandfather, the man who wanted me and Lily to always stay together." Melissa cried. She cried from joy, from nostalgia, from love. And in that moment, holding the baby, surrounded by her daughters, Melissa reflected on everything that had happened. About that day, years ago, when she received the devastating news that she could never have children. About how that news led her to buy a $25 cabin. About how that cabin led her to 2 frightened girls. About how those girls became her family. Life had a funny way of working out. Sometimes, what seemed like the end of one dream was actually the beginning of another, even better one. But there was still something that hadn't been fully resolved, a ghost from the past that occasionally haunted them, especially Emma. It was on an ordinary day, Emma, now an adult, working as a social worker, that she received a case. It was about a 12-year-old girl, Brittany, who had been separated from her younger brother in the shelter system. Reading the case, Emma felt a lump in her throat. It was like looking into a mirror of the past. She decided to take the case personally. She visited Brittany at the shelter. The girl was reserved, distrustful. Emma introduced herself, explained that she was a social worker, but also that she had gone through something similar. "You were separated from your brother?" Brittany asked, surprised. "I was, twice, and I know exactly what you're feeling right now." "And what happened? How did you turn out?" "I ran away, and I found someone who fought for me and my sister, someone who made sure we stayed together." "And do you think you can do that for me?" Emma looked at that girl, saw the same fear and despair she had felt years ago. "I'll do everything in my power," she promised. And she kept that promise. She worked tirelessly on Brittany's case. She discovered that the separation had no real justification. It was just a matter of shelter capacity. She fought, used every resource she had, until she managed to reunite Brittany with her brother. When the siblings saw each other again after months apart, Emma cried. She cried remembering herself and Lily. She cried with relief for having made a difference. And in that moment, Emma understood something important. Everything she had been through, all the suffering, had a purpose. It had prepared her to help other children, to be the voice she herself had needed years ago. She went home that night and told Melissa about the case. Melissa listened attentively, then hugged her daughter. "I'm proud of you," she said. "So proud." "I learned from the best," replied Emma. Meanwhile, Lily was having her own journey. Her art exhibition had just opened in a small but respected gallery in Colorado. The theme of the exhibition? Family. Each painting told a part of her story. There was one of an old cabin with 2 girls at the door, another of a woman holding the hands of 2 children, another of 3 figures embracing, forming a unit. On opening day, the gallery was full. Critics, collectors, friends. Melissa and Emma were there, proud. Mrs. Margaret, too, now very elderly but still lucid and present. A journalist approached Lily. "Your works are very moving. Is there a story behind them?" Lily looked at Melissa, who was across the gallery talking to someone. "There is," she replied. "A story about a woman who was lost and found purpose. About 2 girls who were frightened and found a home. About how a family can emerge from the most unlikely circumstances, yet be as real and strong as any other." The journalist asked more questions, and Lily answered, but her eyes kept returning to Melissa. To the mother who didn't give birth to her, but who raised her. To the mother who fought for her when no one else would. To the mother who loved her unconditionally. At the end of the evening, when everyone had left and they were cleaning up, Lily approached Melissa. "Mom, I wanted to thank you for everything, for buying that ridiculous $25 cabin, for not running away when you saw us, for fighting for us even when everything was against you, for loving us when no one else did." Melissa smiled, her eyes glistening with tears. "You don't need to thank me. You gave me as much as I gave you. You gave me a reason to live, to fight. You gave me a family, and there's no greater gift than that." And there, in that empty gallery, mother and daughter embraced, celebrating not just the exhibition, but everything they had built together over the years. But there was still one more twist in the story, one that no one expected. It was an ordinary day, a few years later. Emma already had 2 children, Lily was engaged. Melissa, now almost 60, was retired from teaching but still worked as a volunteer on adoption cases. She was at home when she received a call. It was a social worker she didn't know. "Mrs. Melissa, my name is Paula. I'm calling about a complicated case, a case I believe you're the right person to help with." "What kind of case?" "It's about 3 siblings, ages 7, 9, and 12. They lost their parents recently. They have no other relatives. They're in a shelter, but they're trying to separate them. They say it's easier to find families willing to adopt 1 child than 3 together." Melissa felt something familiar in her chest. It was as if history was repeating itself. "And what can I do?" "I wanted you to talk to them. You have experience in this, you have credibility. Maybe you can convince the authorities that separating siblings isn't the answer." Melissa agreed. She visited the children at the shelter. They were 3 boys, scared, clinging to each other as if that would prevent the imminent separation. She talked to them, listened to their stories, their fears, and she saw so much of Emma and Lily in them that her heart tightened. "I'll see what I can do," she promised. She worked on the case, made contacts, used all her experience and credibility, but the situation was complicated. There weren't many families willing to adopt 3 children together. That's when she had an idea. A crazy idea, but one that made perfect sense. That night she gathered Emma and Lily at home. "Girls, I need to talk to you about something." "What is it, Mom?" Emma asked. Melissa told them about the 3 boys, about their situation. "And I was thinking, you 2 already have your own families. You're already settled, but I still have so much love to give, so much space at home, and these boys need a family." Emma and Lily exchanged glances. "Mom," Lily said slowly, "are you saying that—" "I'm saying I want to adopt them. All three. I know I'm older now, I know it will be challenging, but if there's one thing I've learned, it's that age doesn't matter when it comes to love." There was a moment of silence. Then Emma started laughing. "Only you, Mom. Only you would want to do this at 60. So you think I'm crazy?" "We do," said Lily, "but that's why we love you, and that's why we'll support you. If this is what you want, we'll be by your side." And so, Melissa began another adoption process. It was harder this time because of her age and because there were 3 children, but her story, her experience, and the support of Emma and Lily made a difference. It took a year, but she finally succeeded. Lucas, Miguel and Peter came to live with her. 3 boys full of energy, trauma and fear, but also full of hope. And Melissa, already a grandmother, became a mother again. Her house was once again filled with noise, with life. She once again had a purpose. Emma and Lily helped whenever they could. The grandchildren played with their new uncles, creating a chaotic but loving family environment. And the cabin? That $25 cabin that had started it all? It had to be expanded. Because now, when the whole family gathered there on weekends, there were almost 20 people. A huge, unlikely, but genuine family. The years kept passing. Melissa grew older, but always maintained that energy, that determination that had led her to fight for the girls years ago. Lucas, Miguel, and Peter grew up under her care. They had their own challenges, their own journeys, but always with Melissa by their side, always with the support of Emma and Lily, who became older sisters to them. And on every birthday, every holiday, the whole family gathered. There were loud conversations, laughter, sometimes arguments, but always with love at the center. One day, many years later, Melissa was sitting on the porch of the cabin, now well renovated and expanded. She was over 70 years old, with completely white hair, but her eyes still sparkled. Emma sat beside her, also older, but still with that determination in her eyes. "Mom, have you ever thought about how all this started?" she asked. "I think about it every day," Melissa replied. "I think about that day I received the news that I couldn't have children, about the pain I felt, and how that pain led me to buy a $25 cabin." $25, Emma laughed. "The best investment you ever made." It really was. But you know what I think about more? I think about how funny life is, how what seems like a tragedy can be the start of something beautiful, how an ending can actually be a beginning. You changed our lives, Mom, mine and Lily's, and Lucas's, Miguel's, Peter's. You saved us. "No," Melissa shook her head. "You saved me. You gave me a reason to live when I had lost all hope. You gave me a family when I thought I would never have one. You saved me just as much as I saved you." The two stayed there in a comfortable silence, watching the sun set over the mountains. From inside the cabin came the sounds of laughter, children playing, life happening, and Melissa smiled, knowing she had made the right choice, that every struggle, every tear, every moment of despair had been worth it. Because in the end, she had built something beautiful. She had built a family born not of blood or biology, but of choice, courage, and unconditional love. And that $25 cabin, once a symbol of escape and loneliness, had become the foundation of it all. The place where a broken woman found 2 frightened girls, the place where 3 lives intertwined and became one, the place where an unlikely but genuine family was born. And this family would keep growing, keep strengthening, generation after generation. Because true love has no limits, it has no barriers, it knows no impossibles. And it all started with an impulsive $25 purchase, with a creaky door being opened, with 2 pairs of frightened eyes in the dark. And with a woman who decided not to run away but to face it, not to ignore but to help, not to give up but to fight. And in the end, that was the greatest lesson Melissa passed on to her daughters, and that they would pass on to their own children. Family isn't about blood. It's about being present. It's about fighting. It's about loving, even when it's hard, even when it seems impossible. It's about looking at someone and saying, "You are not alone. I will stay. I will fight for you. You are my family." And this message would echo through the generations, touching lives, changing destinies, proving that sometimes the best stories are the ones we never planned. The best families are the ones we build, not the ones we're born into. And all because of a $25 cabin. End of story. So, what did you think of this story? Leave a comment sharing what moved you the most. Do you think Melissa made the right decision? What would you do in her place? We'd love to hear your honest opinion. Don't forget to leave your like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss other touching stories like this one.